Hello and welcome to 10 Lessons Learned, the podcast where we talk to leaders, experts, and extraordinary individuals from all over the world to uncover the lessons that have shaped their careers, their lives, and in many ways their businesses. Our goal is simple: making the world a little wiser, one lesson at a time. My name is Siebe Vanderzee, and I'm your host. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona, in the beautiful Grand Canyon state, where I'm also known as the Dutchman in the desert. Our guest today is Ana Hory. Ana is a global business executive with over 25 years of experience in the consumer durables industry with privately held and Fortune 500 global companies. Ana has a great track record for scaling up businesses in new markets, for advising companies on strategy and innovation, and for building strong cultures and teams. She also brings her board experience as a co-chair of the membership committee for women execs on boards and in other corporate board and advisory positions. You can learn a lot more about Ana on our website, 10lessonslearned.com. Hello, Ana. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful to have you on our podcast. And I'm curious, before we get into your 10 lessons, scaling up companies in new markets. Explain a little bit more to our audience what you mean with that.
Absolutely. Scaling companies or businesses are often challenging because as you scale, you're looking to do so without increasing costs proportionally. My approach is to leverage technology and streamline processes like marketing automation tools or cloud-based systems as much as possible without significantly expanding overhead. Also, and this is usually where a lot of companies get it wrong, it's critical to stay focused on its core value, meaning staying true to the company's core business and maintain consistent brand messaging as it expands. If you don't, you might lose competitive advantage, decrease efficiency, and increase costs. And also quietly important is building a strong team by bringing expertise that I don't have.
When you talk about consumer durable companies, are there any specific industries that you are focused on?
Well, I started my career in pure CPGs, mostly food and household consumables. Then I transitioned to consumer durables, which are items that last several years or uses. I've been drawn to durables because they are usually not impulse purchases. Consumers spend more money and more time considering the purchase, therefore making it very important that we're offering value to them. To totally understand consumer behavior, a passion of mine, I enjoy finding consumer pain points and ways to create beautiful product experiences and solutions that solve them. To do so is particularly challenging in new categories, but I have to say I love a challenge.
I have another question before we get into your 10 lessons. Is there perhaps a lesson that you have learned in life or in your career that you wish you would have been able to teach yourself when you were, let's say, 25 years old?
I have to share a life one and a career one because these two are very important. The life one is I often share with young adults, which is don't rush, meaning enjoy every bit of every experience you have. For example, take a year off, travel the world, volunteer, experience a new culture, expand your horizons. I never did it. I don't even remember the last time I had a full week vacation. Those opportunities might not come around again. And when you're 25, your responsibilities are different and fewer than when you're older.
So give yourself a break, basically.
Give yourself a break. Time to discover yourself. Find things that you might be interested in that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Career-wise, don't ever work for an insecure manager. They'll feel threatened by you and be reluctant to provide opportunities for advancement. They might withhold important information and resources, try to control every aspect of your work, and oftentimes take credit for it. Though they might seem friendly at first, anything that triggers their insecurity will quickly change that. They're unpredictable, which results in a stressful work environment, low morale, employee disengagement, and high turnover rates. The business suffers greatly.
Is there a way you can figure that out before you accept the job and then find out that perhaps that's not a good leader in your organization?
Well, one thing that helped me was during the interview process, I always ask all the people that I'm interviewing that work with my manager about the manager. And it's interesting how much people are willing to share. You can't ask directly. You have to ask about behavior. How is that manager in such situations? So you have to be specific to get the feedback you'd like to hear. So that's the only thing I found to be useful, but not 100% foolproof.
Well, I think it's a very important point that you're making, because in a job interview, you hope they like you and want to make you an offer. At the same time, it's a two-way street. It's not always easy when you're being interviewed, but you have to interview them as well and really make that observation, which is not easy. But I think, going back to what you were just saying, it is helpful to assess that it's not just, wow, I found a job. You want to make sure you find the right job and that it clicks between you, the team, and the leaders in the organization.
I believe cultural fit is more important than anything. If you want to grow within a company, having the cultural fit and hiring people that fit the culture of the company is very important.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's take a look at your 10 lessons, Ana. I really look forward to this. Lesson number 1, harness the power of social connections.
So
what are your thoughts?
Social connections is crucial for our overall health and well-being. It's equally important in the workplace since it promotes learning and knowledge sharing. This is probably one of the reasons why there's been a strong push for back to the office, because a connected workforce facilitates greater learning and knowledge exchange. It enhances strong work relationships, contributing to better employee retention and engagement. It's almost like you're part of a family, right? So being there and those social interactions are critical. By having those connections, it boosts innovation and overall business performance. One of the things that I like to do when I join a new company or a new business unit, I try to meet one-on-one with the employees and even the extended teams. We go on coffee walks, just having a casual conversation. We talk about a lot of things. And I just listen to a lot of things that they have to say. At one time, I did that when I was promoted to a new business unit, and I could identify what the issues were and the things that I needed to address first. So I find it very helpful and very important.
Yeah, social connections, I agree. It's hard to define, but it feels right. And people appreciate it when you reach out to people. And that's who we are as human beings, I think. But that's a good start with your lessons. Lesson number 2, cultivate long-term vision for sustainable success.
When you think about the type of markets and the place we are today, things are always evolving. Consumers' tastes evolve faster than ever. Whenever something happens, even on the other side of the globe, it might impact us.
Oh, yeah.
Creating a long-term vision is critical because it helps you create milestones and to have a plan. Where do we need to go? How are we going to get there? It's very important for any executive. Maintaining a forward-thinking mindset cultivates innovation and preparedness, enabling you to anticipate and navigate future challenges effectively. If we want to get there and we need these things to happen, if something changes, how am I going to adapt?
Yeah.
When I was opening a business outside of the US, there was a clear opportunity to introduce a key brand that offered great value to consumers. But retailers weren't keen on it. By proposing a test market milestone, I resulted in a successful product launch where we had out of stock issues. Having anticipated it, we were able to quickly bring inventory for a nearby country. And that market for that brand became the second largest outside of the US. It's really important to have key milestones when you have long-term planning.
And sustainable, that's, of course, another challenge. It's easy to say success, oh, well, we have success. But to make it sustainable, there's more to it, of course.
Things change. So you have to create the base for anything that you do, right? Okay, here are the steps to get there. But you have to also be flexible and be prepared to what's the plan B, what can happen. And it's oftentimes forgotten. And people just think, well, when everything is going well, they stop looking. And it's very important to be aware that things can change very quickly.
It makes it difficult, right? And that leads into lesson number 3. Be an executive that thrives in complexity. Not just, well, I got to put up with it. Thrive in complexity.
Absolutely. I love challenges and complexity. I know it's hard because most people like predictability, like to know what's happening. But when you're able to thrive and put that to your advantage, I think it's very powerful. So again, when you look about how dynamic our business landscape is, having a versatile mindset, focusing on team success, cross-functional collaboration, being able to adapt to various roles. If you're doing this today, but tomorrow you can be doing this, you not only elevate your expertise, but also create a more cohesive and motivated workforce, giving people opportunity to move around and to learn different things. And I found that by having a broad skill set that provided me with a comprehensive understanding that allowed me to navigate complex challenges and contribute to significantly be successful in what I was doing. One way to do this is by continuously expanding your knowledge across various domains. For example, I'm currently taking an AI and machine learning class at MIT, an important topic, as you know, that impacts all of us in businesses today. I believe that the pursuit of continuous learning has given me a unique perspective to drive for innovation.
I'm still thinking about thriving in complexity, and you indicated you like that. I think
Yes.
there are a lot of people, also leaders in organizations, that prefer not to deal with complexity. How do you convince them, or how do you educate them that complexity is a good thing?
Oh, absolutely. It's hard. And I think you convince by demonstrating, right?
Yes.
So doing things differently. I've many times when I joined a new company or a new opportunity, people were doing things one way. And then I came with a different perspective. Just because something had worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work in the future. So addressing problems as opportunities helps address complex problems.
Yeah, my little brain can relate to that, because as a recruiter, when I deal with my clients, sometimes I jokingly say, make it difficult. If it's easy, you don't need me, right? And it depends on the type of position and the kind of activity that you're involved with. But complexity, it fits with leadership and handling that. And if you can thrive in it, then I think you're on the right track. So I like it. Lesson number 4. Inductive reasoning is a powerful problem-solving tool. What do you mean with inductive reasoning?
It's the ability to identify patterns, make connections, get information from different sides, and putting them together into a cohesive understanding or conclusion. Especially now that we're such a data-driven world, approaching problem solving in an enjoyable challenge again, and making it enjoyable and trying to find what is it telling me, right? And being open to diverse perspectives will really broaden your understanding of the data and the situation. Trust your instincts, but always verify your conclusions. I find this is particularly useful when in new categories and there's not a lot of data to help guide your decisions. So the way I've circumvented this issue was by watching consumers and their behavior when something changed, understanding what pain points they're having and creating a product to solve those pain points. It'll be key to be successful. You can't gather this information from data analysis alone. You need to experience it. For example, did we think 20 years ago that we need a computer in our hands?
I feel old when you say that, but yeah, I remember living without computers and having a cell phone, communicating with the whole world just like that.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Exactly.
So here we are. Lesson number 5. We just talked about inductive reasoning. Here we're talking about sequential reasoning. It's a valuable skill.
What I find is that it allows you to mentally arrange information in a logical, linear order. It's the capacity to see the big picture, organize complex ideas, and create logical processes.
Yeah.
It positions you as a master planner and problem solver, your ability to break down complex goals into manageable steps. So it makes it less overwhelming, right? And communicate those strategies clearly to your team sets you apart as a visionary leader. Use it to enhance your decision-making by evaluating long-term consequences and analyzing multiple scenarios. For example, when I communicate with key stakeholders, I structure my presentations and arguments in a logical, compelling manner with precision and clarity, making it easy to show my vision and to get buy-in.
You make it sound as if that's the standard for everyone, but that's obviously quite advanced and based on your experience. I also noticed, Ana, in your lessons, but also in your demeanor, high energy. I have to think many times of Jack Welch, corporate executive with General Electric. In some of his books, he writes about the importance for leaders to have energy, to express that energy, but also as a leader to be able to energize the people that work with you, that work for you. Is that something, I just come up with that question here, Ana, but is that something that you feel comfortable with? Not only that you have the energy, but that you are energizing the team, the people that you are working with?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's important. When I have one-on-one conversations with my team, I feel like they feel heard. And if you implement whatever they say into you, what you're doing, like the decisions you're making, they really look up to you. And I find that's very powerful. And you're right, it translates into energy. It's having that excitement. It's like, it's something, here's where we're going to do this. And I find it's particularly challenging when the new role you're taking on is to run a business unit, for example, that had a problem or it's struggling, and really the opportunity to transform, really pumping up the team and getting them energized. It can be really challenging, but it's possible. It's doable. Just listen a lot, learn, be humble, and be enthusiastic. They will follow.
I can also see in your background, of course, you have worked in multiple countries, cross-cultural communication, and how leadership is perceived when you go to another country as the leader. How do they perceive you? Is that something that you include when you are operating in an international market, that you say, okay, I'm doing business now in whatever country, I have to make some adjustments in my approach? Or is it, hey, we are the leading company, I want you to adjust to what we are doing? How do you look at that?
Oh, I think you have to have a global view, but you have to implement in a local market. So it's very important for leaders to be on the ground on those markets. You can't just be behind a desk on calls telling people what to do. You really have to go and understand. Throughout my career, I've managed markets, businesses in Europe, Asia, and Latin America, and they're all different. And even countries within a region might differ. You have to be sensitive to those cultural nuances and listen. You can have a brand look and feel or an overall vision and strategy, but it's really important to implement with local nuances to that particular market. And I find it very doable, but you have to experience it yourself. You can't just read about it. You have to go see and feel it to really understand.
And there's your energy again.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. We're talking today with Ana Hory, a global business executive and board member with experience in scaling businesses in new markets and industries, sharing her 10 lessons learned. If you like our podcast, I hope you do, you actually see value in these episodes, please consider supporting 10 lessons learned, whether it is by sharing the show with a friend, leaving us a review, or checking our affiliate partner Audible. Every bit helps us continue bringing you the lessons that matter most. Speaking of Audible, they're a fantastic way to enjoy 10 lessons learned alongside thousands of audiobooks and other inspiring podcasts. Whether you are on the go or unwinding at home, Audible makes it easy to build a library of wisdom. You can try it free for 30 days at audibletrial.com/10 lessons learned. Moving on. Lesson number 6, channeling your passion into purposeful innovation. How do you channel passion?
Oh, yeah. So I'll share how I do it, what I do. It varies from person to person. When a topic ignites your enthusiasm, capture these moments of inspiration, either by, use a voice recorder or a note-taking app. Because the key to effective idea generation lies in knowing when to transition from an ideation to action. We have a lot of ideas all the time, right? What are the ones that you should be pursuing? And unless you write them down and you think about them, let them mature, as I call it, you won't know which ones are the right ones. And if you have clear objectives and an evaluation criteria that you set to understand, okay, what are we focusing on right now? Is this for today? Is it for maybe a couple of years from now? Having that ability and trust your instinct and understand when it's time to move forward. Yeah. You're not going to win by producing the most ideas. Instead, focus on the ones that are important for the moment, opportunity. And I believe that helps with innovation. I'll share an example. I was working on a product, and actually, by working on a different product, I envisioned that I needed to make changes to find a better solution than that product we were working on. So by focusing, the way I did it was by really thinking, okay, how is the end user going to use this product? Is it the best experience? And understanding from consumer behavior, just watching what they're doing. And then by going from the end result, from the consumer experience, working backwards, we're able to create this amazing product that did really well and won awards.
How nice. I can see your passion about that.
Yes.
Very nice. Well, let's move along. Lesson number 7. Unlocking the meaning of numbers via numerical reasoning is key. Statistical proof, does it exist?
Yeah, so I think we're surrounded by numbers, right? And I find that numerical reasoning, which means finding patterns when you're analyzing data, because there's so much data. So what's the relevant data? I think a lot of us spend a lot of time looking at everything, really gathering the ones that make meaningful suggestions or changes or things that you need to act on right away. It helps with forecasting and understanding the background of what you need to decide. For example, I always say that even though 1 + 1 = 2, having the ability to look into what the numbers that are part of the equation mean is quite powerful. I find that the biggest culprit of financial performance, for example, is averages. Oftentimes, companies need to use averages in order to build a P&L, especially in a new business or new product. You use average cost, average time, and so on, because that might be the only thing that they have. But as businesses grow, using averages can, and most often do, deliver distorted results from reality, which may mean the difference between growth and profitability. So truly understanding the numbers is very important, and avoid averages as much as possible, because what's an average today might not be tomorrow. Be very aware of that.
It's still difficult many times to trust the numbers. It may come from reliable sources, but there is so much out there in terms of numbers. Would you rely on the consistency of the, let's say, entity that provides the numbers? It's a reliable resource. Or do you look at maybe intentionally at numbers that are very different from those so-called reliable numbers and say, hey, why is there a difference? How do you approach that? Because sometimes I don't know which source I can rely on.
Oh, I think that's a very good question. I find that, and you're right, sometimes looking at the outliers will tell a better story than the numbers as a whole. It depends. It varies depending on the situation. Trust your source. Is it reliable data? Have they been consistently correct or providing the right information? Then yes, use that data, but don't dismiss the outliers, because it could be helping, especially if it's a new change in behavior. The outliers might become the new norm.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah. And definitely we all see that around the world, things change. It's typical for human beings to say, well, this is how we used to do it and we should be continue to do that. Well, the environment has changed. Technology or other elements, we can do it differently. So to keep an open mind, as you have already suggested, would be very important also when it comes to assessing numbers and measuring results, etc. I like what you're saying there. Let's move on to lesson number 8. Be an empowering challenger, one who drives success through assertive leadership. How do you define assertive leadership?
So, assertive leadership is having the ability being confident, being decisive, resourceful, action-oriented. That's what makes you an assertive leader. An empowering challenger is a transformative leader who not only achieves results, but also empowers and inspires those around them. By being an assertive leader, you're driving initiatives forward with confidence and determination, helpful in competitive environments where you need to make tough decisions quickly, particularly in high-pressure situations or during times of organizational change.
Yeah.
On a new role where the business unit was bleeding money, I used those skills to uncover the deep causes, challenge the status quo, initiated bold strategies, driving innovation and growth within the organization, and turning the business around globally.
You really seem to like what you're doing, Ana. I appreciate that. I can see it in the way you talk about these issues, and that's very inspiring. Well, perhaps it fits with lesson number 9, being an authentic leader. And I don't know if you have a definition of what is authentic.
Yeah, the way I see it, authentic leadership is a very powerful approach to building trust and inspiring teams. This leadership style emphasizes transparency, honesty, and leading by example. Authentic leaders prioritize open communication and share both successes and challenges with their team. They consistently demonstrate integrity, accountability, and dedication in their actions, aligning their words with their deeds to build credibility and inspire the team. I believe that by fostering genuine connections and actively listening to team members, and really actively listening, which means not just hearing what they have to say, but listening and taking that in, I create an environment where individuals feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work. I seek to understand different perspectives, creating an atmosphere that promotes collaboration and innovation, building trust and reliability among team members. And to be honest, I didn't quite realize that I was an authentic leader until several years ago when we were going through layoffs and I had to let go of a handful of employees from my team. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
The ones affected came to me and thanked me for the opportunity for having been part of my team and for having their contributions valued. That blew me away.
When you touched on downsizing an organization, very difficult. At the same time, I have learned over time, you have to be very straightforward. When you deal with a situation where you have to lay off people, of course, you're dealing with individuals, every person is different, but do you have an approach, a strategy to let them know that they are out of a job?
Yeah, so I believe, being transparent and honest, but I think that needs to happen throughout your leadership moment while working on that team, right? You don't become somebody that you expect to be trusted. Oh, now that we're having this, you have to trust me, right? No, that's not the way to do it. So if you've built that, if you emphasize transparency, honesty throughout the time you've been working with that team, and then you sit down and tell them like it is. For that particular instance, it was a change in the company's direction, and we had to, unfortunately, reduce overhead. I explained exactly like it was. They understood it. And I think they felt appreciated. That's why they came back and thanked me for having been part of the team. So I think just respecting and thinking, if you were in their shoes, how would you like to be treated? How would you like to hear that communication? And I think using that for a reference, you can't go wrong.
I'm glad you mentioned this. Respect is the overlying element in communication. If you establish your authenticity early on with the people you work with, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? We are at lesson number 10. It goes fast.
Yes.
Lesson number 10, Ana, know your legacy. I don't know how you define legacy, but I'm looking forward to your story.
Absolutely. This is not something most of us think about, right? It's part of life. One day you'll be gone from the job, from that business, from that industry. And when you are, what will your legacy be?
Yeah.
Leaving a legacy is a powerful way to extend our impact. It's not just about material wealth or grand achievements, but about the lasting impression we leave through our values, our actions, and contributions. Leaving a meaningful legacy is rooted in everything that I do. Lead by example, making significant contributions at work, mentoring by sharing knowledge and skills, inspiring others, and striving to make a positive difference in the world, no matter how small it may seem. This way of thinking is so rooted within me that it comes naturally. From feedback I've received through the years, it seems like my legacy will be raising kids to be responsible, contributing adults, appreciating people for who they are and giving them the tools they need to bring out their best, and being an inspirational leader.
Now, you work inside companies, various roles that you've had, but also serving on corporate boards. So in a way, that's even a broader experience, expertise, advising companies, etc. Is that something, these lessons, maybe all 10 of them, that you can share with the companies while you're serving on a board? Or do you pick specific lessons while you serve on a board?
Oh, I find that everything, all my experience impacts when I'm on a board, right? So the way I see it is really supporting the company and representing the stakeholders. So finding the right balance of strategic guidance and supporting the initiatives that the management team has is very important. So I find myself as a board member being supportive of the business, but also of the stakeholders, making sure that everybody's going towards the same goal. I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I focus on.
I like that a lot. And I mean that because, of course, it can happen that people who have been very successful in their, let's say, corporate activities are then elected to a board. Sometimes it's like, well, I have arrived, so I can take it easy from here. What I hear from you is, I'm serving on a board. let's get this done, let's focus on that. That energy, is that a fair description that I give you here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on the boards that I sit in, I am not the quiet one. I'm involved, I'm engaged, I'm actively listening, I'm supporting, I am rooting for to be successful, and hopefully I'm making an impact.
You have learned a lot of lessons in your life and in your career. Is there perhaps a lesson that you have unlearned in your career where you said, you know what, I no longer want to do it this way? Or have you been perfect your whole life?
Well, it's not something that I didn't want to do, but one of the things that I've unlearned is that having a college degree doesn't necessarily result in a successful career, stability, and higher income. We have plenty of examples of highly successful people like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Larry Ellison, that never finished college and achieved so much. But more importantly, having a college degree does not guarantee it. In my opinion, there are other paths like trade schools and professional certifications that allow you to pursue what makes you happy. And when you're happy doing what you love, you're going to excel at it and be rewarded accordingly. I hire the best people for the job, college degree or not. And to be honest, the one that wants it the most, even if they don't check all the boxes of what I'm looking for. From experience, they work the hardest, they're dedicated, and they're eager to continue learning and growing. That makes all the difference.
Wow. Very nice. And I want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your lessons of wisdom with our global audience. It's truly much appreciated. And thank you again for being part of 10 Lessons Learned.
Thanks, Siebe. It's been my pleasure.
I want to make a few closing remarks. You've been listening to our international program, 10 Lessons Learned. This episode is produced by Robert Hossery. And as always, we are supported by the Professional Development Forum and listeners like you. I also want to give my special thanks to our amazing team, Cody Camo, our episode editor, and Yi Wang, who manages our marketing and social media. Our guest today is Ana Hory, sharing her 10 lessons learned. Ana is a global business executive and corporate board member with experience in scaling up businesses in the consumer durables industry. And to our audience, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode or a lesson. Lessons can be helpful in your life, in your career, in your business. Thank you for tuning in to 10 Lessons Learned, where we make the world a little wiser, one lesson at a time. Thank you and stay safe.